You ever been in a season where everything that could go wrong did go wrong? You prayed, you fasted, you believed, and yet the doors stayed closed. The people you trusted walked away. The opportunities dried up. You said, Lord, why me? But hear me when I say this tonight. God is not punishing you. He's preparing you. See, sometimes preparation feels like punishment because God is stripping away the things that cannot go with you where He's taking you. Oh, you thought it was rejection, but it was redirection. You thought it was a breakdown, but it was a breakthrough in disguise. God will let you walk through the fire, not to burn you, but to purify you. He'll allow the storm not to sink you, but to strengthen you. You think He's silent, but He's actually strategic. Don't confuse God's pruning for God's punishment. Every delay, every disappointment, every lonely night is working something in you, shaping you, molding you, refining your spirit for the blessing that's on the other side of this pain. Preparation often feels like punishment, but it's divine refinement. When God begins to prepare you for what He has destined for your life, it doesn't always come wrapped in comfort. It doesn't always look like blessing. Sometimes it looks like breaking. Sometimes it feels like isolation, disappointment, and loss. You see, we often pray for elevation, but we don't understand that elevation comes with excavation. Before God can raise you up, He has to dig some things out of you. Before He can trust you with more, He has to test how you handle less. And in that process of preparation, it can feel like God has turned His face away from you, but the truth is, He's closer than He's ever been. Think about gold. Gold doesn't come out of the ground shining and perfect. It comes out covered in dirt and rock and things that hide its value. The refiner has to place it in the fire, not to destroy it, but to reveal what's inside it. The heat exposes the impurities. The pressure brings the beauty out. And that's what God does with us. When He puts us through the fire, it's not because He's angry. It's because He sees something valuable that needs to be revealed. What you call pain, God calls process. What you call punishment, God calls preparation. Sometimes we misunderstand what's happening to us because we can't see what God sees. You're praying for the promise, but God is building the person who can handle the promise. He's not in a hurry because what He's preparing you for is too great to be rushed. You might be asking, Lord, why are you letting me go through this? And God is saying, because I'm equipping you for where I'm taking you. The tears you cry today are watering the seeds of tomorrow's harvest. The things you've lost are making room for the things you'll gain. When a sculptor starts with a block of stone, it doesn't look like anything special. But in the sculptor's mind, the masterpiece already exists. Every strike of the hammer, every chip that falls away is part of the vision coming to life. That's what divine refinement looks like. God sees the masterpiece in you, but He has to remove the excess, the pride, the fear, the doubt, the dependence on others. And every time He chips something away, it hurts. But every strike is shaping you, not breaking you. You might be in a season right now where it feels like everything is being stripped away. Friends are leaving. Doors are closing. Opportunities are drying up. It feels like punishment, but in truth, God is clearing your path so you can walk freely into what He's prepared for you. He's removing the distractions so you can hear His voice clearly. You've been asking for clarity, but clarity often comes through separation. You've been asking for strength, but strength comes through struggle. When God is preparing you, it's not always visible to others. People might look at your situation and think you failed, but they don't know what God is forming behind the scenes. They don't see the conversations God is having about you in rooms you haven't even entered yet. They don't see how your struggle is shaping your spirit. You may feel like you're in the dark, but that's where roots grow. Preparation always happens in hidden places before revelation happens in public spaces. So, Don't despise the season that feels like punishment. Don't run from the fire. It's refining you. Don't resist the breaking. It's birthing something in you. Every tear, every setback, every sleepless night has purpose attached to it. God is working in ways you can't yet see. The same hands that allowed the storm are the hands that will bring you safely through it. When He's done, you'll come out stronger, wiser, and purer. The pain will make sense, and you'll realize it was never punishment, it was preparation for your promise. Rejection is not loss, it's redirection to purpose. When people walk out of your life, when opportunities slip through your fingers, when doors you prayed for stay locked tight, it's easy to think something went wrong. But what if God is simply steering you towards something greater? What if the very no that broke your heart was heaven's way of saying, you were made for more than this? Rejection is painful, but it is also purposeful. It's God's way of protecting you from what wasn't meant for you and guiding you toward what is. We often think of rejection as the end of the story, but in truth, it's just the beginning of a new chapter. The problem is that we rarely see it that way in the moment. When you lose a job, a friend, or an opportunity, your heart naturally asks, why? But sometimes God answers that question not with explanation, but with direction. He shifts your path. He blocks the way forward, not because He's punishing you, but because He's positioning you. You can't walk into your destiny while clinging to what was only meant to teach you a lesson. When people reject you, don't take it as a reflection of your worth. Take it as confirmation of your calling. Some people can't see the vision God placed inside you because it wasn't revealed to them, it was revealed to you. Their rejection doesn't mean you're not capable. It means your journey doesn't depend on their approval. God will sometimes let people walk out because He knows they can't handle where you're going. They were meant to be part of your story, but not part of your destiny. Think of Joseph in the Bible. His own brothers rejected him, threw him into a pit, and sold him into slavery. It looked like loss, but it was really redirection. Every rejection Joseph faced was a step closer to his purpose. The pit led to Potiphar's house led to prison, and prison led to the palace. What looked like betrayal was actually a divine setup. Had his brothers not rejected him, Joseph would never have reached the position that saved his family and fulfilled God's promise. The same is true for you. Every person who turned their back on you pushed you one step closer to where God intended you to be. Rejection hurts because it touches our sense of belonging. We crave acceptance. But sometimes, acceptance by the wrong people will cost you alignment with God's will. God loves you too much to let you settle for less than what He designed for you. That's why He closes certain doors, even when you're begging for them to open. What you see as loss is heaven's redirection toward better timing, better people, and better purpose. There will be seasons when God allows rejection, not just from people, but from places. You might apply for a position and not get it, or plan for something that never works out. And in that moment, you'll feel like you've failed. But rejection is often God's way of saying that's not your assignment. If you had gotten that opportunity, it might have distracted you, drained you, or delayed your destiny. Sometimes the greatest blessing is the door that didn't open. So instead of mourning every rejection, start thanking God for His protection. When you see things fall apart, understand that God is making room for something new to come together. You're not being abandoned, you're being aligned. You're not being left behind, you're being lifted higher. Every no is leading you closer to your divine yes. One day, you'll look back and realize that the people who left, the chances that slipped away, and the seasons that broke your heart were all part of God's redirection plan. You'll see that what you thought was rejection was actually rescue. You'll thank God for the doors that closed, because those closed doors pushed you into the purpose that was always waiting for you. Delay is not denial, it's divine timing at work. We live in a world that worships speed. We want everything fast, fast results, fast answers, fast success. But God doesn't operate on our timeline. He's not moved by impatience. He's moved by purpose. When he delays something, it's not because he's forgotten about you. It's because he's preparing the right moment for what he's promised. What feels like a pause to you is actually perfect positioning in heaven's schedule. Sometimes, the hardest thing to do in faith is to wait. Waiting tests your trust more than losing ever will. When you don't see progress, when the doors remain closed, and when prayers seem unanswered, it's easy to think God said no. But delay is not denial. God doesn't waste time. He redeems it. Every second of your waiting season has meaning. He's aligning people, places, and circumstances to work in your favor, things you can't see yet. If God gave you everything you asked for the moment you asked for it, you might not be ready to handle it. Blessings given too soon can become burdens. So, God delays not to punish you, but to develop you. He's stretching your patience, building your character, and teaching you to trust his plan, not your pace. It's in the waiting that you learn endurance. It's in the silence that you learn how to listen. And it's in the delay that you learn that faith isn't about getting what you want when you want. It's about believing God even when nothing seems to be happening. Think of a seed planted in the soil. You can't see what's happening beneath the surface, but something is growing. The roots are forming, the structure is strengthening, and at the right time, that seed will break through. But if you dig it up too early because you're impatient, you destroy what God was nurturing. That's what happens when we try to rush divine timing. We sabotage blessings that were meant to bloom. Sometimes God hides your growth so he can mature you in private before he reveals you in public. When we look at stories in Scripture, we see that delay has always been part of destiny. Abraham waited 25 years for Isaac. Joseph spent years in prison before reaching the palace. David was anointed as king but spent years tending sheep and fighting battles before he wore the crown. Even Jesus waited 30 years before stepping into his public ministry. The delay wasn't denial, it was preparation for purpose. Each of them needed time to be shaped into who they were called to be. And you're no different. There are blessings with your name on them, but they are time sensitive. God knows the exact moment when you're mature enough, strong enough, and humble enough to carry what he has for you. You might be praying, Lord, when will it happen? And God might be saying, when you're ready. The waiting isn't wasted, it's working. Every moment you think you're being delayed, you're actually being developed. So don't despise your waiting season. Don't let impatience make you move ahead of God. What's meant for you won't miss you, but you can miss it by rushing. Trust the timing. Trust that God knows what he's doing. A delay in your plan is not a denial of his promise. Sometimes the thing you're waiting for is waiting for you to grow into the person capable of receiving it. When the time is right, the doors will open effortlessly, the connections will align, the opportunities will unfold, and the blessings will flow in ways you couldn't have orchestrated on your own. You'll look back and realize that if it had happened any sooner, you wouldn't have been ready. What once felt like God's silence will prove to be his strategy. Because delay is never denial, it's divine timing, preparing you for a blessing that's worth the wait. God removes comfort to reveal calling. We all love comfort. We crave stability, security, and the feeling of control. But comfort can become a cage that keeps us from growing into who God created us to be. When life feels safe and predictable, we rarely change. So sometimes God has to shake up your world to wake up your purpose. He has to move you out of what's familiar so you can step into what's fruitful. Growth never happens in comfort zones. It happens in moments of discomfort, uncertainty, and stretching. When God begins to call you to a higher level, He often starts by making your current situation uncomfortable. You'll notice the things that once satisfied you no longer do. The environment that once fit you starts to feel too small. People you once connected with begin to drift away. It's not rejection, it's transition. God is shifting you from where you were to where you need to be. And that process isn't always pleasant, but it's always purposeful. Look at the story of Moses. He was comfortable in Pharaoh's palace, living in luxury, but God had a bigger plan. Moses had to leave the palace and walk through the wilderness before he could lead the Israelites to freedom. The palace was comfortable, but it wasn't his calling. The same is true for you. God will remove you from places of comfort so you can discover who you truly are. Because if you never left what's familiar, you'd never find what's divine. Sometimes, God will even allow storms to hit your life to push you into purpose. Think about Jonah. He was running from his calling, comfortable in disobedience, until the storm came. The storm wasn't to destroy him, it was to redirect him. That's what discomfort does. It reveals the areas where we've settled instead of stretched. God's goal is not to make you comfortable. It's to make you complete in His purpose. When you feel like everything around you is falling apart, it may be that God is rebuilding your life according to His design. The job that ended, the friendship that faded, the plan that failed, they weren't punishments. They were positioning tools. God removes what you cling to so you can cling to Him. He's teaching you to depend not on comfort, but on calling. Because the moment you stop chasing what's easy and start pursuing what's eternal, everything changes. Comfort convinces you to stay where it's safe, but calling invites you to step where it's sacred. It's the place where faith is required and where destiny is discovered. If God kept you in comfort, you'd never pray as hard, dream as big, or fight as strong. Discomfort stretches your faith and deepens your dependence. Every time you're pushed out of a comfort zone, you're being pushed closer to your calling. You might be in a season right now where you feel unsettled, like nothing fits anymore. You're trying to hold on to what used to work, but God is saying, I'm doing something new. That restlessness you feel isn't failure, it's divine agitation. God is stirring your spirit because He knows you. We're made for more. Don't fight the shift. Flow with it. When God removes comfort, He's not being cruel, He's being kind. He's shaking things up to wake up what's inside you. Because you can't fulfill your purpose sitting in safety. You were never meant to live a life of ease. You were meant to live a life of impact. So, if God is making you uncomfortable, rejoice. He's revealing your calling. He's pushing you toward a version of yourself that's stronger, wiser, and closer to Him. One day, you'll look back and thank God for every uncomfortable season because you'll realize it was in those moments that you grew the most. The places where you cried became the places where you were refined. The losses that hurt became the lessons that prepared you. God removes comfort not to harm you, but to help you become everything He created you to be. The pain you feel today is shaping the strength you'll need tomorrow. Pain is one of life's greatest teachers. It's not pleasant, it's not comfortable, and it's not easy, but it's purposeful. Every tear, every trial, every disappointment is doing something inside you that comfort never could. God doesn't waste pain. He uses it to prepare, to polish, and to position you. The things that break you are often the same things that build you, and the seasons that hurt the most are the ones that teach you who you really are. When you go through pain, it's natural to ask, why me? But the truth is, pain often has a mission attached to it. God allows pain not to destroy you, but to develop you. The weight you carry today is building the spiritual muscle you'll need to stand tomorrow. Without struggle, there's no strength. Without pressure, there's no power. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every loss is God's way of shaping your character and preparing you for greater things ahead. Look at how diamonds are formed under intense pressure and heat. Gold is purified through fire. Even seeds have to be buried in darkness before they can break through the soil and grow. Everything valuable goes through a process of pain before it reveals its purpose. You're no different. The pain you feel right now is not permanent. It's preparation. God is refining you, toughening your faith, and teaching you endurance because the destiny ahead of you will require a strength that only pain can produce. There are some lessons you can only learn in the dark. You can't learn patience until you're forced to wait. You can't learn forgiveness until you've been hurt. You can't learn resilience until you've been knocked down. Pain introduces you to parts of yourself you didn't know existed. It reveals your weakness, yes, but it also awakens your will. It pushes you to depend less on your own strength and more on God's grace. Because when everything else is stripped away, that's when you truly discover the power of His presence. Sometimes the pain doesn't make sense in the moment. You cry, you question, you wonder if anything good can come from it. But years later, when you look back, you realize that pain was the turning point. It taught you empathy. It birthed compassion. It showed you how to appreciate what you once took for granted. The very thing that almost broke you became the foundation that built you. What once hurt you now helps you. What once made you weak now makes you wise. There's a reason God doesn't shield you from all pain, because without pain, there's no growth. If life was always easy, your faith would stay shallow. You wouldn't know what it means to persevere, to endure, or to trust when nothing makes sense. Pain stretches your faith and deepens your roots. It transforms your wounds into wisdom and your struggles into strength. God allows pain to strip away what's temporary so He can reveal what's eternal. You might not see it now, but every moment of pain has purpose. The betrayal that broke your heart is teaching you discernment. The loss that left you empty is teaching you gratitude. The failure that embarrassed you is teaching you resilience. Every painful experience is a piece of the puzzle that's forming a stronger, wiser, and more faithful version of you. So don't curse the pain, embrace the process. One day you'll look back and see that the pain you felt today was the strength you stood on tomorrow. You'll realize that the nights you cried built the courage you needed to rise. The weight that crushed you made you powerful. The fire that burned you refined you, because with God, pain is never wasted, it's always working. And when the healing comes, you'll know the strength you carry didn't come easy. It was forged in the fire of every painful moment that tried, but failed to destroy you. So now, let me speak to your heart tonight. If you've been wondering why life has been so hard, why the doors keep closing, why the people you counted on walked away, hear me when I say this. God is not punishing you. He's preparing you. Every trial, every tear, every setback has a purpose. Every lonely night, every closed door, every delay is shaping you, molding you, and positioning you for the destiny that's already written for you. You may not understand it now. You may feel like giving up. You may feel like the storms will never end. But the same God who allowed Joseph to be rejected and imprisoned is the same God who is working on your life today. The same God who allowed Moses to wander in the wilderness is the same God who is walking with you in your season of waiting. Every no you faced, every delay, every moment of discomfort is part of the divine plan to refine you, strengthen you, and prepare you for what's ahead. I want you to remember this. What feels like punishment is actually preparation. What looks like failure is really a setup for breakthrough. What seems like loss is actually a pathway to your promise. You are being molded, stretched, and refined for something greater than you can imagine. God is taking the things that hurt you, the struggles that broke you, and the setbacks that shook you, and He is using them to build something in you that is unshakable, unstoppable, and undeniable. So don't despise the process. Don't resent the season. Don't question the pain. Stand firm in faith. Trust the timing. Believe in his plan. The storms are temporary, the struggles are strategic, and the preparation is powerful. When God is done, you will look back and see that every trial was a stepping stone, every tear was a teacher, and every delay was deliberate. You will walk into your purpose with a strength that could only come from God, a wisdom that could only come from experience, and a faith that could only come from perseverance. Tonight, I want you to stand on this truth. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are a masterpiece in progress. You are being prepared, not punished. You are being positioned, not postponed. And what God has for you is worth every moment of the struggle. So lift your head, straighten your shoulders, and walk boldly into your future. The best is yet to come. The preparation is real. The promise is near. And the God who began this work in you will see it through to completion. Remember, this is not the end. It's the setup for your breakthrough.